It was the day before Christmas, 1997, at the IOCC garage. It was the day before Christmas. We were all hanging loose, and a person was moving, not even the locker room mouse. Joey was cleaning all the corners with pride, not leaving no place for that old mouse to hide. I watched in amazement as he swung that old mop. I thought he'd keep at it until he would drop. But then he looked at me and let out a yell, kicked over his bucket and said, "Go to hell." The shop was all quiet and the bays were all clear, so I had some time to think about the past year. There had been some changes, some good and some bad, and some of the changes have made some people mad. We now have the warden with that prison camp walk. He's here and he's there, but has no time to talk. He has an agenda, but still we're not sure if he'll be here next year or gone through the door. Last year, 'neath the tree in a little white box, was a small little package for Donnie the Hawks. So after some thinking he threw it all down, and now you will find him just bumming around. Old Dale the trapper went north for some boo, got into big trouble on Shaboogamoo. He replaced the piston and went on his way. It looked like he was towing old Santa's sleigh. Old George came back from his trip to the Isle, and for some strange reason he was wearing a smile. I later found out he had a truckload of bounce. He said he'd outperformed Capri to the very last ounce. The story is told of the leprechaun Wally, how he still goes to bed with his favourite dolly. He serviced his pickup with the best of loose oil, then showed all his teeth, flashed a big smile. Our number one hauler, old Jim Bob, they say, went out moose hunting in Notre Dame Bay. He thought that he hit one, but that's not the worst. There may be a farmer still missing a horse. Billy the Blackie traded in his old cat for a wide bombardier that runs slick as a rat. He has a trail around Willow like a wild rabbit's run. He said it seems I've been missing a whole lot of fun. Like a fox to the hen house goes old Bert and Don, and right close behind them old Bill strolls along. They say what they're doing is called RCM, which more clearly states means real common men. Our Professor Steve is not feeling so fine. He's been moose hunting for a very long time. But he finally stopped hunting, and they say it is true that he used up his tags on a big caribou. In the First Nations corner, Gordy works all alone, since it looks like old Chess will be staying at home. In the smoke room he goes 40 times every day. He's sending smoke signals to some place far away. We've all seen the peddlers as they come and they go. There's Harold and Jesse and the one called Reno. If they were all Santas, we'd be lacking for sure. There would be no choice but to look for one more. At the lumberman's diner, all things went quite well, as we said our farewells to Helmo and Cal. For 30 more years, it's been a job that's well done. We wish them many more for some fun in the sun. Like an old dog that's kicked and told just to stay, the old rat man Howard keeps working away. But he's slowed down a little. He's no more a blimp, although he still walks with that old tool-crib limp. And Pedro the rooster is not happy at all, as the Canadians have been losing all fall. After he kicked poor old Rusty and hit the TV, he's been stuck in the doghouse and drinking cold tea. Old Clipboard Dougie, the new kid with a plan, is running around like he lost sight of land. If he's all ass hope, then we're close to the brink, and if we were a boat, we would certainly sink. There's a short little fellow we sometimes call Bill, with an ego as big as Blueberry Hill. When he's not on his knees, he is under a chair, somewhere in the office just waiting for Pierre. Old Frank and Jim works in the serviceman's bay. They're installing a rig to take smoke away. Old Ivan comes by with some strong desires to learn something new before he retires. The lads on the hill are now singing all day, since the Alberta boxers are here now to stay. Morale now is high, and the downtime is low, but let's see what happens when it's 40 below. We all heard the story of Ricky and Joe, how they wanted the heater turned really down low. If they went for less clothing, they may just survive, but we wished them good luck over in number 5. Way back in the summer, old Hob had a dream. He said, I'm going to start a new team. I haven't decided just what it will be, but to get the ball rolling, I'll just call it E. So the E team was started with the help of old Ben, and Hobby got busy and called to his men, come Charlie and Thomas, up Donald and Harry, come Howard and Ronald, and Pedro, don't tarry. Then into the action jumped old Dr. Handy. With old psychic Jerry, they thought they'd do dandy. But a degree wasn't needed to see from the start that the E-team was destined to soon fall apart. To punish the coaches for such a bad show, the boss said to Hobby, "On night shift you go," and likewise to Gerald he said with a grin, "You are close to the hedge, so let's try for a win." Then from somewhere down south they dragged up young John to work with the E-team while old Hob was gone. But he just wasn't able to fill old Hob's shoes. So when asked to go back, he just couldn't refuse. In the tool crib old Ben is climbing the walls, and outside old Billy sings old jingle balls. We'll keep them apart till we need a new team. Then maybe old Andy will fulfill his dream. I sat there so long that I drifted away, and I would have stayed longer if I had my way. But the soft little patter of something nearby brought me to my senses and opened my eye. Then right there I saw him, the locker room mouse. He was there in the corner building himself a house. I thought, what a fool we must have all been. This place is not half as clean as it seemed. Then all of a sudden I heard a commotion. Sounded like Joey may have jumped in the ocean. And there was our welder, old Carlo the cat. You could tell he didn't know just where he was at. And he called out to Ivan to come see the door. You could see all the damage, just trouble for sure. And there on the deck stood old Eli the boss, wagging his chin and wondering what was the fuss. And all of a sudden, just outside the door, there was a loud noise and a very loud roar. And there was old Santa with his sleigh loaded down. He was on Easy Rider and Carl was showing him around. Like an overworked welder he came into the shop. For a minute I thought he was going to drop. As he stood to his feet he staggered a bit. I thought he was going to fall in the pit. I just couldn't believe the shape he was in. There was something running down over his chin. I wondered where he was before he came here. Seems he's been drinking someone's home-brew beer. He said not a word. Now that's something new. His face was all red like someone with the flu. And just like old Ricky, in his moot was a chew. He spit all over the floor, then spoke to the crew. He said, "Go find Cyril and bring him to me, and I hope that he's done a good job with the tree. Also find Dougie and old Hobby too. I want them to pass out the gifts to the crew." By now all the boys were all gathered around. You could see Santa's belly just bounce up and down. With his beady old eyes he just looked at us all. Then one after the other our names he did call. A chin strap for Dennis and a toy truck for Gary, and a leftover dinner for old brother Harry. More day shift for Hidley and more night shift for Jerry, and a good pair of knee pads to keep old Wilf happy. For Steve there's a video about hunting moose, and Joey a manual on cleaning the house. For Ricky some samples of the best kind of chew, and for Carl there's a book about what not to do. There's a new jock for Billy and some time off for Ben, and a new book for Hatchie called A Diet Man's Friend. New dentures for Gordy and some long rubbers too, to help keep him dry and away from the flu. For Ray there's a video about how to retire. For Gordy instructions on putting out fire. For the captain some long johns and for Ivan some hair. It's the latest invention, it can grow anywhere. For Cyril the welder, the powder puff man, there's a personal washroom, and for brother Dan there's a week off or more training on basic first aid, and a new chair to sit in when he's just getting paid. For the serviceman Reggie, the handicapped boy, there's a trip down the lake on Kyle's new toy. For Charlie some puzzles to sharpen his mind, so he'll catch up with the crew and not fall behind. For Tid there's some moose here for tying some flies. for Ross's instructions on how to tell lies, a book for old Hal called How to Complain, and for Rick some training on cleaning the drain. For Glenn we have something made only for you. You can wear it up north when you're after the boo. It's just some old hose that's not made for men, but they say it can certainly keep out the wind. By this time old Santa was starting to sweat, so much that his beard was all soggy and wet. Then he said, I'm all finished, that's it, there's no more. And like an old tomcat he went for the door. I sized him all up with his red suit and all. He wasn't real plump and he wasn't real tall. Just a slim sort of guy like an average old Joe. You could tell that his age was just starting to show. As he grabbed Easy Rider to leave us once more, I could swear that I'd seen that old Santa before. But when he shouted to us to have a happy new year, I was certain this Santa was none other but Pierre. Merry Christmas.